Modern and Pioneer players rejoice, Wizards finally brought bans to our format. So, what we're talking about today, as of today, December 4th, Wizards has announced bans and unbans for the Pioneer, Modern, Explorer, and Pauper format. If you're one of these players, you want to listen in. Me personally, I'm more of a Modern player, so I will focus on that rather than the other ones, but we'll talk a little bit about the Pioneer. We'll jump right into it, get into it a little bit more, and kind of explain my thought process about what's going on and kind of go over what Wizards is going on. First off, we'll go into Pioneer. Looks like we have Karn, the Great Creator, Geological Appraiser, and Smugglercopter being banned/unbanned. In Modern, we have Fury and Up the Beanstalk being banned. And same thing with Pioneer, since Explorer is basically the arena version of Pioneer. They're trying to get to the same thing. We are seeing Karn and Geological Appraiser being banned as well in Explorer. It's worth noting that there's been no new copies of Smuggler's Copter to being unbanned in Explorer at the moment, so it won't be available in the meantime. And for you Pauper players, those of you that are out there, Monastery Swiftspear is now banned in Pauper. Okay, so let's get down into what Wizards kind of had described about, get a little bit more information out there, so you guys have what the most up-to-date information and kind of get into it. Of course, Wizards is going to talk about Standard. It's their new puppy dog format. Obviously, Standard has been around a while, but they're finally coming back and making it a lot better. I've been playing a lot of it on Arena lately. I really like the state of it, and I think I've seen a lot of diverse decks. It's a lot better than last set. Last set was mainly red. Now I'm seeing a lot more decks, and it's very fun to play. But for Pioneer, I am not much of a Pioneer player. However, I know a little bit based on videos I've been watching. Karn, the Great Creator, being banned feels amazing for the format. Mono Green, as far as I could tell, was a big contender. I really hated Karn, the Great Creator. As a Hardened Scales player myself in Modern, Karn is one of my least favorite cards to see. It makes it almost unplayable. And from what I gathered, Mono Green, if Karn was on the battlefield, is pretty much an automatic win. Geological Appraiser being banned. For some of you, you may not know what this card is. It is a newer card to the format, but if you're a Pioneer player, you probably hate this card already. It just came out with Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and it reads, whenever it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, discover 3. Now, normally this isn't too bad. We have cards already like this in Modern with like Shardless Agent. However, with Geological Appraiser and being in Pioneer, you get sort of like this infinite combo between with Trumpeting Carnosaur, Quintorius Khand, and some sort of copy creature. I think most people are using Glasspool Mimic. Basically, Geological Appraiser will roll down into Glasspool Mimic, which will then copy Geological Appraiser and then cascade again into another Mimic until you have pretty much infinite appraisers, and there's ways to do so with Trumpeting Carnosaur or Khand as well. And if you do it with the Khand, you pretty much just win because you're casting all of these cards off the Discover, which is technically from Exile. I've heard a lot of people hate on this card right now, so I'm glad to see that banned. Smuggler's Copter, I'm not surprised it was unbanned. I don't think it'll be very good in the format. This card was amazing in Standard. During the time of Standard, I absolutely loved playing this card, but when it was on the other side of the table, I hated it. You felt it. It was not a fun card to play against, and it had a lot of support back then that was really good.
Nix. Quit.
So, as we scroll down further here, we'll go into a little bit more of our talks with the Modern format. So this is what I'm a little more familiar with. Currently, I'm playing Hardened Scales, but I had this Up the Beanstalk deck built, and let me just tell you, it was a little bit too strong. Fury being banned and Up the Beanstalk being banned, I believe will be really good for the format. Pretty much every deck that was playing red is playing Fury, and Up the Beanstalk itself, being the fact that you could roll into Up the Beanstalk instead of Rhinos, and it was just the more optimal play, was a lot better. As we talk about this a little bit, Wizards, uh, and as we talk about this a little bit, in a recent interview, Wizards really focused on X1 creatures. It was really, we were really seeing Fury being banned. It was pretty much guessed by everyone. I was hoping for, I think, a Grief ban or a Shardless Agent ban. I think that would have shaken up the meta a little bit more than Up the Beanstalk, but I'm glad Up the Beanstalk still took the L for this one. It was a little bit too strong for a 2-mana uncommon, and everybody had access to it. So, giving a little bit of a detail, we'll kind of read over this. Wizard states, removing Fury will impact both the player's rate and win rate of Rakdos Evoke. Players are currently using 4 or more copies of Undying effects, like Not Dead After All, to rebuy Grief or Fury. Without Fury, the opportunity cost of playing so much Undying effects increases, reducing consistency in the deck and becoming a real cost to include. Is it possible these decks begin to transform into white versions that utilize Solitude? Yeah, I could see that, and or Ephemerate. However, a robust Solitude is not as threatening as a 4/4 with Double Strike and provides less deck coverage than the metagame. I would agree with that. Also, going away from red will be really, in my opinion, tough. Things like Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, Ragavan, those cards are really strong, and there's not really cards like it in white that make it good enough. I could still see this deck being around because Grief Scam is still really hated. It's not the best. It won't be the best thing in the format, but if it happens to you, you'll probably hate it. Wizard again states, we believe the removal of Fury will widen the format, allowing players to explore additional strategies, especially with low toughness creatures. Finally, fewer overall Rakdos Evoke decks in the metagame will reduce the total amount of Griefs and Orcish Bowmasters. So, in a recent short, I discussed Orcish Bowmasters as well. I think this card's fine for the meta. I think it is only seeing as much play as it is right now. 1, it's a really, really good card, but 2, Beanstalk is massive at the moment. If Beanstalk's not as good, the draw power effect isn't going to be as necessary. It's still going to be a good card, but nowhere near as strong as it was with Beanstalk gone. Wizards then talks about Beanstalk a little bit, talking about how it's not easy to trade with this card at an advantage, which it's not. It always comes down and always replaces itself. The real way to answer Up the Beanstalk is to counter it. Otherwise, it's a 2-mana cycle, which we already see on a lot of cards. In terms of banning, I think we will see a rise in a couple of decks. In my case, let's take a look at the modern metagame right now. Decks like Rakdos Scam we'll probably see fall into tier 2. Maybe some Cascade Beanstalk will be eradicated as a whole. And then other decks that are kind of running Fury right now, some Crashing Footfalls list are running a 2 of. I don't think Footfalls will be affected too hard by this change, but we'll see. And the 4-color, 5-color Omnath deck will have a lot less reach than it used to have. In terms of Beanstalk being banned, it actually had a larger effect on probably tier 2 decks other than here, but mainly affecting the Cascade Beanstalk list, which was just a little bit too strong for the format. Well, let's get into my opinion on the biggest winner from this ban, which I believe will be the Izzet Murktide list. Yes, I know, red deck loses Fury, so how is it going to get better? But let's just say this. If you look at this 75, there is no Fury in the main deck. In the 60, we have 2 in the sideboard. Right now, Murktide's biggest contenders out of here was definitely Rakdos Scam. They have a hard time interacting with it, and with how many of them, it being such a toss-up, sometimes you'd get a win, but it'd be kind of hard if they ripped the best cards out of your hand. And being the Beanstalk list, they were just able to outvalue you the majority of the time. I think we're going to see Murktide return to like top 3 decks in the format. Also, with the banning of Fury, we might see Ragavan come back a lot more. So decks that can play Ragavan will probably see a big uptick in play. I think this deck will definitely return to prior glory. It's always going to be at the top. It's always one of those decks that are never bad. But it's a very enjoyable deck to play, and I don't mind seeing it at the top of the meta. Of course, our biggest loser from this ban will definitely be the Cascade Beanstalk list. This deck is pretty much going to be dead. We'll only really see a shell of this maybe for Rhinos, or we'll still see 4-color Omnath. I don't know if it'll be as good as before without Fury, but 4-color Omnath, let's kind of get into that one. Yeah, Fury is a 4 of in the list. We might see some Fire Ice, because I don't see any Fire Ice in this list replacing it, and the list will be still good, but nowhere near as good as it definitely was. This list was making a big, as you can see here in this most recent event, this list has been doing pretty good. We're mainly seeing different iterations of red decks as we go through different events. And here we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 here. Out of the top, out of our 7-1 decks or X1 decks, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the 10, I think, X1s represented were red-based decks, which I bet you if we click into any of these, we're going to see at least, we're going to see Furies in the deck. So in my opinion, overall, banning of Fury is really great for the format. I can't wait to see where it goes. I'm hoping we see a little bit more uptick in Hardened Scales. This is what I'm currently playing. I really love this list. It's been very fun. Agatha Soul Cauldron was an amazing pickup for this list. I think the other big winner we might see a lot more of is going to be Yawgmoth. Yawgmoth was kind of put in check by Fury, and although the Beanstalk list was, it doesn't really affect how Yawgmoth plays too much. Not having the Beanstalk plus Fury as an answer for this, I think Yawgmoth will also see a ton of uptick in play. But that's it for my predictions on what's happening after the ban. Hopefully we'll follow up on a couple big tournaments this weekend, and I'll give you an update on where I think the metagame is, or what the metagame is currently showing and shifting to. Thanks again for tuning in. If you're made it this far, this is my first long form content that's going to be on the channel. I appreciate you watching. Please like, subscribe. We'll have some gameplay videos coming soon, and have a good one.